Hey everybody, and welcome to this edition of Uncle Gary's Mindset Mondays. We have got a fantastic edition for you, so let's jump right in. What we're going to talk about today is a question that I get quite often, which is the difference between quantity versus quality, or which one is more important. Should I favor quantity versus quality? And I'm going to give you the context for why we're having this conversation. In essence, we've all been dealing with this lockdown situation, or situations we haven't really enjoyed in our own way for whatever reason. And what I've noticed is that many people have not been starting as many things as they've wanted to. And that's really it's a big deal in my mind, because how many things you start and how much fun you have doing new things is for me is a really important part of my life and something that gives me real value. So I always am confronted with this quantity versus quality. Should we be favoring like quantity or quality? And I'm a perfectionist. I love making things that are just perfect, and so I get stopped a lot of the time. Well, what I'm here to tell you is a couple of things. The first thing I'm going to tell you is something my dad taught me when I was growing up. He had a phrase, and he used to say that when you're doing something and it was a new situation in a business or you were creating some new product, what he said to us was, why don't you do it QED? Q&D, he used to say. And Q&D basically stood for quick and dirty. And that meant just get something out the door. It doesn't really matter what it is. Just take a stab at it and get going, basically. That was what the gist of the conversation was. And I actually found this was incredibly wise advice. There's a book by a chap named Safi Bahcall, and it's called Loon Shots. And in that book, he has his own acronym. His acronym is FBR. He basically says whenever he's trying to write a book or whenever he's trying to do something, whatever project he's doing, his key is to basically do something fast, do something bad, and do something wrong as quickly as possible, and just get it down on paper. And that will actually move the ball forward. I assert that that is hugely valuable advice. So that's the first piece I'm going to tell you. Either do it quick and dirty or fast, bad, and wrong, whatever way works for you, but look at how you can get things moving as quickly as possible for yourself. That ability to flex a muscle of getting something out the door quickly will be far more valuable than trying to create the perfect item before you get it out the door. I'm going to go on and double down on this point, and I'm going to give you a little anecdote that is a famous sort of fable in history. And it was about essentially an emperor who gave two different teams in his empire 500 kilos or 500 pounds of clay. And he gave each of these teams 500 pounds of clay, and he told Team A, please go away and make as many pots as you can. Your job is to make as many clay pots out of that clay as you possibly can. That's your goal, and that's your job. And he told Team B, please go away and make the most beautiful, perfect pot. Okay, you've got the same amounts of clay, but your job is to make the most perfect, ornate pot. And after about 3 months, they both came back, and Team A had made an enormous number of pots, and Team B had made very few pots, and they showed him their best work, which was this perfect pot, and it was kind of a vaguely symmetrical pot. It looked like it was almost symmetrical, and it had been painted reasonably nicely, and it was a really nice effort, but it wasn't really beautiful. And then he looked at what Team A had brought back, which is just thousands and thousands of pots, and they brought out one of their pots which was just immaculate. It was symmetrical, it was perfect, it had a beautiful handle on each side, it had painting that was ornate, it was amazing. And the moral of this anecdote, the moral of this fable or this story is essentially, if you do something a lot, you'll naturally get better at it anyway. And that's what Team A was basically doing. They weren't realizing that we were supposed to make a better pot. They just realized after doing it 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times that they were getting better in certain ways. And they kept making the pot better and better just because they were doing it enough to learn. And that was really empowering for them. But the key here is they didn't think about making it perfect. They thought about making a lot of them. Now, even in me starting this channel, as you've probably been, for those of you that have already liked and subscribed, thank you. For those who haven't, please go ahead and like and subscribe so others can get this through the YouTube algorithms. But the key here is making more and more content is not about trying to make the perfect video. And believe me, I deal with wanting to make the perfect video every single time I push record on this camera. But that's not the point. The point is to get the content going and just get good at creating content. And I've learned and discovered a whole bunch of things that I didn't realize and I didn't know, and realized what stops me, what makes me go into my head about stuff. So it's been a really powerful learning journey. And that's what I try to bring to every Mindset Monday. So I hope you got something from this. Start, use Q&D or use FBR. Think of the 2 blocks of clay and who made the better pot, and get out there and start something. It will make your day when you realize that you're bad at something and you're going to get better by doing it a lot. So find something fun and go ahead and start something. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one.